on my computer. I'll be sharing the session later on. I'll upload it on YouTube, and I'll share it with those who are not able to attend. So basically, the topic today is domains and web hosting. So I just wanted to ask just briefly, does anyone know what domain and web hosting is? How many people here are familiar with domains and hosting? Okay. Maybe we don't have that many, so I'll just go through and explain. Let me go to the next slide. So in most cases, when you're visiting websites, for example, I know there's if you're visiting a website, maybe like so maybe you're visiting it's a website like google.com. So when you visit a website like google.com, you need a vista here, and then there's what we call a DNS server. So a DNS server basically holds what we call IPs. IPs are like addresses on the internet, but most people are not able to remember these digits to be typed in a web browser. So what they did, they came up with a software that basically assigns your domain to this IP address, so that when you are typing the domain name, so you don't have to remember all these IP addresses. So that's what we call the DNS server. So DNS server is basically for helping resolve your domain name. And then after it resolves the domain name, it goes. So here you can see we have. I've put some examples of. We have web hosting with the popular companies. There is HostGator and there is GoDaddy. So both these companies, they provide hosting, and at the same time they provide DNS services. So what I mean by DNS services, it means you can buy a domain from them. You can go to GoDaddy, and basically you want to buy a domain, and you buy a domain. At the same time, if you want to buy hosting, they also provide hosting. But you don't have to always buy from the same person who is hosting to also basically do your domain. So for example, Google has cheaper domains compared to example GoDaddy and HostGator. So in most cases, what most people do, you go to for example to domains.google, you buy your domain, and after buying your domain, you go to HostGator to basically host your website. So that's what most people do, because it's cheaper that way. Because if you buy all the things from one place, sometimes it becomes a little bit expensive and they try to. So the next slide. Do you have any questions before I go to the next slide?
Me, I'm okay. I'm good.
I think we should tell people to mute if they're not talking, please.
Okay. Yeah, I think people should mute if you're not talking. So if you don't have any questions, because I know this is a serious topic about domains, do you have any? Okay, if you don't have, okay, I'll go through the slides and maybe you can note down your questions, and then you'll ask at the end of the. You'll ask your questions at the end. Yes. Who is making noise in the background? So the next slide. So next slide, we're going to talk about the domain name providers. So I don't know if anybody of you has heard of ICANN. So ICANN stands for International. It's International Center for Naming. So it's the acronym is I'm forgetting it, but ICANN is the primary source for all the domains out there in the world. So they're like a monopoly. So companies like GoDaddy, Google HostGator, they all get their licenses from ICANN. So basically, even you, if you want to basically start your own domain name company, all you have to do is go to this website, which is called icann.org, and you'll be able to, if you meet all their criteria, you can be able to basically start selling domains to others. So these are, so ICANN, so that one you have to note, ICANN is the primary. But also, I know GoDaddy offers resale. So if you have a small company, maybe in Uganda or Kenya or Tanzania or somewhere, and you don't have...
Akiiki, can you excuse me, ask somebody over there to mute? We are getting confused. Somebody is making noise in the background. I don't know.
Okay, let me
you
see.
can ask them to mute, you know.
Okay, let me look at...
I think you can mute anybody who's not speaking. You can do that. The host can do that, you know.
Okay, so let me do that if I hear more noise. So basically, so that's what ICANN does. So if you're a small company somewhere in Africa, sometimes you may not be able to use the licenses of ICANN, but GoDaddy has a reseller option. You can go to GoDaddy and you can become their reseller and you start your small business from there. The next slide, I'm going to talk about the DNS server software. So I don't know, I think most people have never heard about DNS server software. So basically these are the softwares that these companies use to basically do the hosting. I mean, to basically do the domain name hosting. So even you, if after getting a license from ICANN and you want to set up your own hosting, your own domain selling company, all you have to do is get these softwares. Any of these, there's Bind, there's DNS, there's DJBNS, there's MaraDNS. So you can install this on your computer, and basically you start selling, domains. So the next slide is basically to talk about those, if you are somebody who wants to basically build a website. Okay, I've muted that one. There was so much noise. So if you're somebody who wants to build a website, you're a small company or it's a personal website or it's for a business, so all you want to first figure out is, is this going to be just one website? Is it going to be several websites? How much traffic is it going to be receiving? Is the traffic going to be somewhere local? The visitors of the website going to be only in your country, or they're going to be worldwide? So you have to look at all those options before you begin your project of either you personally building your website or finding someone who is going to build it for you. Once you know that, then you are able to basically know what type of hosting you need. So these are the types of these are the different types of hosting that are there. So we have shared hosting, we have reseller, we have virtual private server, we have dedicated, we have cloud, and we have managed the WordPress. So I'm going to talk over all these different types. So the shared hosting is basically it is cheap, it's quick and easy. The only problem, it is slow. So once you have this shared hosting, so you must make sure that you're not receiving a lot of visitors in your website. So basically, this is for either personal websites that are not receiving high traffic, or small businesses. And some of you, if you go to any hosting website, you normally see on their site, for example, if you go to HostGator, you'll see web hosting, you'll see website builder, you'll see WordPress, you will see VPS, you'll see dedicated, and you'll see domain. Sometimes you get confused. You're like, I mean, what do these all mean? That's so even basically, at first when I said doing websites, so this used to confuse me until I had to basically, find out what it means. So if you need to basically buy hosting, I always recommend you go with web hosting, because when you buy web hosting from HostGator or GoDaddy, it has WordPress already included in their hosting. But if you buy WordPress only, it means you want to get advantage of other services that are provided within the hosting company. So I'll explain that further. And also, if you're buying hosting, so these are the different plans here you see. So there's what they call the hatch plan, baby plan, and so this is for together. But if you go to any company that hosting, even if it's GoDaddy, they'll have these different types of plans, And normally the cheapest, they normally have a single domain. So basically, so that means you will only be the only person who will be able to use the hosting on your domain. But I always recommend, and they also put for you. So the difference between this hatch plan and the baby plan is that this one, you have unlimited domains. Unlimited domains means that if you have your friends and your 5, and all of you want to build up websites, or if you're a church, or if you're an organization, and you have several people within your organization that want websites, then it's advisable to go with the baby plan or the business plan, because with this, you can have as many domains as you want. So apart from having, but the only downside is that if your website is, if your websites are use so much traffic, you notice that your websites will become slow. So that means if you're going with this plan, you have to make sure that you know how how you'll handle your traffic. This is always normally the best for small organizations. For those who want business, you can always go with a business plan. And the reason why HostGator is good, because it provides free SSL. So free SSL means HTTP versus HTTPS. So I won't go that in detail, but once you start, you'll be able to find out. And those who need this slide, so please, you can start putting your emails in the chat so that I have them, and I'll be able to share the slides after that. All I can share, let me share my email so that you can basically just email me, because once this chat is gone, you won't be able to, I may lose the emails. So yeah, so I'll put my email there. So so the next slide, so this talks about the content management systems. So if you buy if you go and buy the WordPress hosting, all you get is WordPress. But if you buy any of these plans here, if you buy the web hosting, which is this, you'll be able to access all this. So the web hosting gives you WordPress, it gives you Joomla, Drupal. So it gives you all these different content management systems. That means if you get a website that is not WordPress, you're able to use Squarespace, you're able to use Shopify. So that's the advantage of basically buying web hosting instead of WordPress. And this is how the WordPress cPanel looks like. So once you buy, this is how the web hosting cPanel looks like. So most people who are not technical, they find it hard, basically using this. A cPanel basically means control panel. So this is how it looks like. And as you can see here, the different applications are here. So that means after you go into your control panel, then you can install WordPress instead of initially having both WordPress. Somebody making noise again? Okay. Yeah, so basically, the control panel gives you all these different options. And since WordPress is the most popular, you can install that. But if you're somebody who knows how to use Joomla or Drupal, you can always install this. And then you begin basically using your website. So this is how WordPress looks like. So once you install WordPress, you've bought your domain, you have installed WordPress, you'll be able to receive this page. And then from there, all these you see are basically templates that you can use to create your website after installing WordPress. So you can use this, so anything that you want, it's your choice to pick the best theme you want to use once you have installed WordPress on your site or whatever content management system you have picked, if it's not WordPress. Any questions so far? I don't want to go into the other things before I get questions, because they may be a little bit not. They may so far the 13 slides I've covered are the most important. So the other stuff I'll go into it. So before I go there, I want to see if you have any questions and I can answer them. Any questions?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm okay.
Okay. Anybody else? Is everybody okay? I proceed. Okay. So it looks like we have smart people here. Okay. So.
And yeah, sorry, I was trying to unmute and speak. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, so I wanted to ask, let's say you want to customize.
Okay.
What's the most preferred language that you might choose? Let's say you want to customize the page, you can't find the theme that you want to use.
You want to customize a page and the theme is not there.
Yeah.
So what basically the themes basically help you to create a website faster. But most companies that have the resources, they will basically hire a web developer to build everything from scratch. So that's where the customization comes in. So you must know, to customize a page, you must know HTML, you must know CSS, and to some extent, you must know JavaScript. So if you want to highly customize it. So those are the 3 languages that you need to know if you want to customize. But for those who don't know, then that's why they develop themes, because the demand for building website was high. and the labor was too expensive and time consuming. That's why they came up with templates to solve that problem.
So Akiiki,
Yes.
John Agabasiaro,
Yes.
I have a quick question.
Yes.
Are these slides accessible, or can you give us these slides before we take lessons?
Let me
Because
see.
it would be easy for us when you're teaching. When we have already gone through your slides, it would be easy for us if we have any
Ask the questions. I think the best right now I can do is, as I think I had asked people to get me their emails so that I can say, because right now it's not, ask people to give me their emails so that I can send you the slides.
Yeah.
So those who have their emails, you can basically put them in the chat, and I can send you the slide so that you can have it in handy with you.
Yeah, this will be so helpful. But let's go ahead with the lesson. Yeah.
Yeah, you know, I didn't pre-plan that, but that's fine still. We can go ahead and.
Okay.
So any questions before I proceed? Okay, so let me go to the next slide. So this managed. This is managed WordPress hosting. So this is what I talked about previously. If you go to hosting and you choose WordPress, so this is what you're basically going to get. This is managed WordPress hosting. So this is basically you get. So as I've told you, it's better to buy the web hosting instead of the WordPress hosting. But it's also good to know each and every a bit of that. So this is reseller hosting. I also talked earlier about it. So this is basically for small businesses. You want to do a partnership with GoDaddy or HostGator for your small business. You can basically use reseller hosting to basically run your small business. So that's what reseller hosting is about. The next is virtual private service hosting. The virtual private service hosting. So basically this one is the hosting company. All they give you is they give you some kind of control over how you can manage your resources. As I told you earlier on, if you have web hosting, normally your websites will basically be slow. So and with web hosting, the company doesn't basically give you a chance to allocate the CPU and memory of your server in case one website is receiving a lot of traffic. But with VPS hosting, if you have 5 websites in your account, it means if one website is overloaded, you can always go and add more CPU and memory to that website so that it doesn't slow down. So that is the virtual private server. So I've also added some notes. So once I share the slide, you should be able to basically see all that. The next one is dedicated hosting. So dedicated hosting, in this case, they provide you with your own server. So if they provide you with your own server, it means you have to manage in most cases all the hosting. So if you have a dedicated hosting, in most cases, you won't have a cPanel, and this is mostly for IT people who know what they're doing in terms of web development. So they give you your own server, and you can basically do what? Host your own website on their server. It's theirs, but you're basically renting it, and you're able to control anything you want. So that is dedicated hosting. So cloud hosting is basically similar to everything we have talked about. So this is more of a marketing tool because of the new buzz about clouding. But if you're doing dedicated hosting, VPS, everything you're accessing is hosted in another place. So anything that is hosted in another place and not your location is normally in the cloud. So that's why we call it a cloud hosting. So most of these companies, the GoDaddy and HostGator, they will provide you the cloud hosting. But if you want more advanced features of cloud hosting, you can always go to there's Google Cloud, there's Amazon Web Services, there's Heroku. They provide the cloud hosting. And so the next slide is for mostly so I think this is going to be the last slide. So some people may ask, how do large corporations handle hosting? Yeah, handle hosting. So there are different ways. So large companies do their hosting. So large companies will not most likely they won't use GoDaddy or HostGator, because a bank, maybe like Bank of America, because they handle financial information, in most cases, they want to keep their information private. So that means they have to build their own servers or data center in their own company, in their own location, and then they can host all the applications they want. So if they are doing that, there is what we call IaaS. So IaaS is International Information Systems. So I don't know if any of you have heard about Windows Server. I think you may be hearing the word Windows Server. So Windows Server is just a computer, and then you install the software called IaaS. And then once you are building your application, you put it on IaaS, be hosted there. So this service IaaS was developed by Microsoft. But apart from that, those large companies, they use other softwares called Apache and Tomcat. So these are also different. Apache and Tomcat, they mostly are Linux based, but they also use Windows. So those companies, they will use, this is what they will use in most cases, if they're hosting in their own premises. But due to the high cost maintenance involved in hosting your own data center, so most companies, they have basically decided to do their hosting, to get other companies to do their hosting. So even large companies like Bank of America, or even if it's the government, there are some services that they think they are not security sensitive, or these companies have granted them that they can provide security. So that's where the cloud hosting comes in. So in the cloud still, these companies, which is Amazon, as do is Microsoft and Google, still in their companies, they will use IaaS and they will use Apache. But the difference is that now the different companies or corporations, they are basically giving out their applications to these companies to help them in managing their costs. So basically, they don't want to hire people to be around managing all their stuff. So all they do is like, let's sell our services to Amazon, to Microsoft and Google to help us in hosting our applications. So that's where the concept of cloud came in. That these companies do what need. So that's the end. So this is my name. This is my LinkedIn profile. These are some of the applications I've built so far. If you want to have a look at them. This is a news aggregator. This is an online dictionary. So, any questions?
Quick question. Thank you so much for hosting this.
Yes.
So, with the coronavirus, everything going on right now, do you see a lot of companies moving into the cloud more from the premises?
I think already companies are doing that.
Mm-hmm.
And most companies move to the cloud because they are tired of managing their data centers. It is costly and it's labor intensive. So that's why they move into the cloud. But other companies who believe that their softwares or applications are security sensitive, especially the banks, you handle people's credit cards, you handle people's social security numbers. So you don't want another company to be basically handling that information. So that's why they try to strike a balance between keeping the application in data center and also giving out somebody else to host.
So security is an issue to some companies, so to speak. I mean, I was working in one of them where they were so hesitant to even let us work from home until this coronavirus, and then everybody, they were scrambling to get us VPNs to be able to work from home. But in terms of even the storage, I think it's cheaper. Having the servers on the cloud is probably much cheaper than having on the premise in terms of space, storage, and that. I mean, I guess there are benefits, there are security. You have to weigh the security versus cost and make that decision, I guess, right?
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, that's where the main differences are.
All right, thank you so much.
Yeah. Any more questions?
I just appreciate Akiiki for your presentation and thank you, brother.
Okay, you're welcome.
Akiiki.
Yes.
Oh, thank you. I'm so sorry I've missed half of your presentation. I'm Daisy Biaranga from the UK.
Okay, Daisy.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, covered as a group of the company.
Mm-hmm.
Are you able to host?
You're kind of breaking.
Are you able to host international companies?
So hosting basically works everywhere, as I talked about earlier in my slide. So let me go back to that slide.
Please.
So in this slide, I was talking about how you plan on basically doing your hosting. Is it going to be one website? Is it going to be, are you going to be hosting many websites? Is your traffic going to be only in the UK? Or basically the users of your website, are they going to be all over the world? Or they're going to be in Africa? So once you make that decision, when you go to hosting, most of these companies, they have data centers. Obviously, in North America, all these companies have their data centers that do hosting. Others do have data centers in Africa, in Europe, and also in Asia. So if you go to these hosting companies, you talk to them and tell them, most of my people who will be visiting this website are going to be from Africa. Do you have a data center there to handle the traffic? They'll tell you yes or no. So once you get that, then you know. But in most cases, most of these companies, they have data centers across the world.
Okay.
Yeah. So when the
Wow. Thank you very much. I can't believe it. You've given us this opportunity. Do you know how much money we would have paid to go to this course? Oh, wow. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thank you, Akiiki.
Thank you, Akiiki.
Yeah.
Right, sorry.
Yeah. Any more questions?
No.
One last question
Yes.
I had really, Akiiki, is if I'm talking to management and we're deciding, I don't know if you already talked about this, I'm sorry I joined a little bit late, but if we are deciding to go with AWS or Azure, what would you recommend and why, please?
So it depends on what you're trying to basically achieve, but AWS has been the main player, but of recent, Azure is basically coming up, and the only reason why people are going for Azure right now is because Microsoft is integrating most of its softwares to the cloud, which are used by most people all over the world.
Right.
So Office 365, SharePoint, all those resources that Microsoft has, they are basically being integrated in the cloud. So that's why it becomes that's why Azure is becoming now a better option than AWS, because AWS has been relying mostly on the softwares of Microsoft.
I think also basically because of the existing softwares or platforms you're already using, if you're in the Microsoft ecosystem, you want to go with Microsoft Azure because you don't have much changes.
Julian, thank you. And Kiki, yeah, that's very true, because if you are more like a Microsoft BI, mostly with the BI developer, and you're trying to move into that, that's a good decision to make, because as students, you know, we are always learning, trying to add more. So it's always good to know, like, instead of trying to go AWS and you already have, then yeah, it makes sense. Thank you so much.
Yeah, for those who need the slides, please, I'm waiting your email before we end the session. So do you have any other questions? Yeah, looks like people are content. So
Hello.
Yes.
I, for one, am not. So I'm waiting for other people to say something. So if not, then I'll say.
Please say, because others are keeping quiet.
Hello, Akiiki.
Yes.
Just one question.
Josh.
Yes.
Josh, come in.
This is Kevin, eh?
Yes, Kevin.
I was asking regarding the data centers.
Yes.
Different companies have different locations for their data centers, and so we have others that have started to set up some in Africa, South Africa. I know there's one.
Yeah.
They're looking also for a place to set up in East Africa. Maybe Kenya may be a possibility, or Ethiopia. So what guides these companies to set up a data center, and should companies be concerned where their data is being held? Because like a company in Europe, with the GDPR and everything, you cannot have your data held in a non-GDPR compliant country. And are these data centers, do they only host data for that particular area, or are they just redundant measures just to keep the data, you know, just to make sure when one fails, there's always another running?
Yeah, so the idea of building data centers across the world, so first of all, when a company is deciding to build a data center in a country, they would have to first look about the security of that company. of that country. They also look at the fiber optic cable that brings in the internet to that country. So once they determine that those things matter, then they'll go ahead and put a data center there to that specific country. But the reason why they put those data centers is because most governments, they have their they want to basically so most government agencies in Africa, they have been lacking a resource for where to be hosting their applications, and in most cases they find themselves with the need of being priced in their local currencies, and that has not been provided. But also they provide it as a failovers. For example, if I build my website here in the US and I put it in GoDaddy or HostGator, if GoDaddy doesn't have a data center in Africa, so it means if somebody wants to visit my website, they'll be routed to Europe, which will take some milliseconds before the website comes up. But if the data center is close by, it means they'll reach the website faster. And also for failover purposes, if one data center is down, so for example, if you have 3 data centers, if the data center in the US is down, your application will still be available in the data center in Africa and also in Europe. So that's the idea. So that's the advantage of having data centers. They help you in failover. So your application is not only in one place. So if one place is down, your application is still up in another area and can be accessed. Although it will be slow because of the distance of routing and all that stuff.
Akiiki.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me here. I was reading about like domains, given that I don't know like much information about websites and all that. So I went ahead and did my research. And what is the difference between add-on domains and packed domains?
The difference between what?
The difference between add-on domain and packed domain.
Okay, I think I had a slide here about domains. Maybe I didn't explain it properly.
And another question is if how can I like manage? How can I manage my domain? Hello.
Yes.
Yeah, I was still asking like how can I manage like my domain if I no longer have an account? Like I no longer have a host account.
So basically, when you're buying domains, so if everybody can see my slide, so there is what we call country code top level domains. Often you will see CCTDL. So those are country, if you type that way in Google, you'll see CCTDL. Those are country code top level domains. And we also have generic top level domains called ATDL. So the country codes of so for example, you'll see .ug, .us, .co, .uk, you know, .tz, .ky, you know. So every country these days, they have their own domain. So if you want to buy hosting, if you want to buy a domain like for .tz, you'll find that if you go to a company like Google may not have it, because what ICANN does is it wants to promote business and it wants to basically help out more countries to develop their internet. it gives the companies in those countries the rights to sell these country code top-level domains. And also the generic domains, those ones is there's .com for commercial, .net, there's .org for organization, .dev, .app, .club, .info, .tv, .cc. So these are the generic domains. On your question of managing your hosting, so these domains, when you buy them, you pay. So these countries normally sell them for $12. That's what they do. So if you buy a domain for 1 year, and if you don't pay for it, it will cease to be yours. So you have to basically pay for it. And the most interesting thing I found about that, the domains, they cost 11 cents. ICANN, which is in charge of the domains, sells them at 11 cents. And then Google, GoDaddy HostGator, they charge you $12 for that domain. So basically, I found out this interesting fact, and I was a bit surprised. But that's the facts out there. And I think I'd open up. If you want to buy domains, there's domains.google. Basically, you can buy domains from there. If you want to buy domains, it's relatively very cheap. Let me. Do you have any questions? 5 minutes to go. If you go to Google.
Oh, yeah. I've got a question.
Yes.
Akiiki, now I'm wondering, I've been warned my domain is up for sale end of the year.
Mm-hmm.
Am I going to lose all my information? How do I get transfer to a new host, a new domain, without losing all my contacts, all my...
Are you talking about domain or hosting?
What I was told is my domain is up for sale. They are gonna sell it.
So that means you've not been paying for it, because domains, normally you pay for 1 year. Or 2 years.
I've been paying annually, but the host, whoever initially hosted me, is tired, is not going to do it anymore.
Okay. So if they're not hosting you, then you can move to another hosting company, and normally, if I would recommend you go with the HostGator. So HostGator has good. They have good hosting plans. So if you want to end hosting, you can go to HostGator.
Okay.
Yeah. So they should be able to basically give you a bit. I'll put that. I'll put that URL.
In the slide.
Yeah, so the other thing I want to tell you is that, for example, if you want to buy a domain, like maybe, let me say I want to buy a domain like kugonza.ug, and I go to domains.google. So you're going to see what happens. So I think somebody needs to mute. Okay, so what I wanted to show you was, so if you type this domain, it will show that this domain does not support. So .ug is a country level domain. So that means it tells you that the Google doesn't have a license to sell .ug domains, and all you can do is you can Google where to buy this .ug domain if you want. But I personally use registry.ug. So for example, if you look here, if I go and I type Kugonza, I'll select the option I want, .ug, and then, okay, I need to sign up. I need to sign in again. Say register domain. I'll go Kugonza and I'll select I want .ug, and you'll see it will say it's available. So on Google, it's not available, but on registry.co.ug, it's available. That tells you that ICANN only gives top-level domains to basically specific countries, to those people in the country to basically sell those country-level domains. So that's the differences. And you can see here that this person who is selling this doesn't have anything like .com. So he has .com, but it ends with .ug. Gov has .ug. So if you have any domains that are country level, you may want to basically buy them from your country provider instead of Google or GoDaddy. Okay. So any more questions before we end?
Hey, Mr. Akiiki.
Yes.
This is Kennedy from Durham, North Carolina. I'm a system engineer. I work with a managed services provider. We provide IT services to a lot of small businesses to mid-size. I often find myself having to deal with a little bit of everything. I was wondering if you can speak a little bit, maybe, and you probably already have it available in your slides, a little bit about yourself, like maybe a 1-minute profile about yourself and strength and skills and your availability. I was hoping maybe we could touch base sometime a little bit later if I'm running into some of the projects that I might need a little bit of expertise. Do you offer side?
Yes,
projects?
So my personal website is basically kugonza.com. So I'm an IT consultant, so that's what I do on a daily basis. But I also do side projects, like building websites and all that stuff. So this is my website. It has all the different projects I've been working on or that I've worked on. So you can go to my website, see the project. If you like some work I've been doing, you can contact me. I'm also going to put my email here, so that you can basically. I'm going to put my phone number. You can basically dial me and we can.
I'm sorry, where did you say you're based?
I'm based in Washington, D.C.
Okay.
Yes, so yes, I'm an IT consultant, but I also do web development as part of my part-time work.
Okay. Yep. Thank you so much for hosting this very informative session. I supplied my email in the chat. Hopefully, I'll receive the slide and I'll be reaching out in the next course of the week. Talk about some more projects.
Okay. So we are top of the hour. So the session ended. If you have not shared your email, you won't be able to receive slides. I've got about 12 emails, so I'll be sending out the slide to those 12 emails. So Thanks everybody for being part of this.